It's the VMX show, season 6. Oh, for Christ's sake.
Hey now, it's the VMX show, season 6, episode 2. Let's rock and or roll, bitches. We're going to start off the show at the top of the hour here. We got your questions and comments, or at least I had them up. Where'd I go? Looks like I closed it. I'm an idiot. Oh man, just give me a second here, guys. I will find it. Okay. We got the tab back open. What is wrong with me? Alright, so we got your questions and comments here. Now, I got quite a lot, so let me go through these. Wow, look at all these questions and comments. One person removed it. Oh. I hate when they do that. You know, I could go into my email and dig it up, but it's like, at this point, does it even matter? Does it even matter? I don't know. I feel like I should. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm not going to do it. Not this time. All right, well, let's start at the top. Cass Smith, 1998, says, I know it's been a while, but have you had any plans to do another Urban Legends of... It's done with. No. I know the series is done. Now, yeah, but you said you might possibly do others in the future. If I had a good topic, but there are no good topics, and the topics that people suggest are all horrible. So no, I'm not going to do any Urban Legends of video games. It's done with. Moving on. PS3 TNA says, exactly, duct tape can fit... What the fuck is duct tape? Actually, you know what? Me and Tanya from Kazara Studios, that is, we're having a good laugh over this. You're not the only person to put the word duct tape. There is no such thing as duct tape. It's duct tape. D-U-C-T. Because it was, I guess it was originally made to fix ducts. It's not duct tape. There's no such thing as duct tape. Alright, exactly. Duct tape can fix anything, and if it can't, it's a piece of shit. Well, I do agree with that. About duct tape, not duct tape. The saying people I know use is if you can't duck it, fuck it. Well, that's clever, but there's no such thing as duct tape. Well, there. See, I just fucked it up. There's no such thing as duct tape. It's duct tape. D-U-C-T, not D-U-C-K. Alright, he also said, Necro, I don't know if you realize this, but Reggie Phil, whatever the hell his name is actually pronounced kind of like Fisame. You know, I don't know how to react to this comment. There's one half of me, I'm conflicted. There's one half of me that's kind of like, who cares, you know? Like, who really gives a shit? Nobody calls him by his full name anyway. Everybody just says Reggie. But, I mean, like, who cares? And then there's the other half of me that has always kind of wondered how his last name was pronounced, and I think that's the reason that everyone just calls him Reggie, is because no one knows how to say his last name. So I'm just going to move on. Nansen Dubois says, have you ever created any ROM hacks of any kind, and also, what is your opinion, the most amusing video game oddity or built-in cheat code? I've never created any kind of ROM hacks, and I don't know what you mean by video game oddities, and I don't really find cheat codes to be that amusing, except when they're kind of only there to be amusing. You know, things like Big Head Mode and NBA Jam. That there's no reason to do that other than to be amusing. I don't know. I kind of thought the DK mode in GoldenEye was kind of funny, but things like that are only funny for about 10 seconds, and then it's old. So I really don't have an answer to that other than that. Mr. Go Lucky Fish says, the problem I'm seeing with E3 isn't that it's not about games, it's that the majority of games don't appeal to the hardcore audience. Alright, I've said this before and I'll say it again. E3 is not for the hardcore audience. It's not for the casual audience. It's not for gamers at all. It's for investors. So there you go. Okay. And then another comment from Nansen Dubois. Secondly, would you ever vote for a Democrat or any party that is a non-Republican candidate? Well, I don't self-identify as a Republican. I self-identify as a conservative. And I think that even that is like a word that's really misused by most people. I try to look at like what the best candidate is. And in the past years, it's been, for me, the Republican candidate. That's not to say that it has always been the Republican candidate. For example, I did not vote for George W. Bush. I didn't vote for him the first time, and I didn't vote for him the second time. So the answer is yes, I would if I felt that it was the better choice. In the case of, like Bush and Kerry, it was kind of like, all right, do you pick Bush, who is kind of losing his mind and just going into a downward spiral, or do you pick Kerry, who's an idiot? And in that case, I voted for the idiot. So, I mean, because I think that someone who's stupid is going to make a better president than someone who's kind of out of their mind. Especially, you don't want somebody who's out of their mind to get a second term, because then they don't answer to anybody. They don't have to worry about being reelected. They don't have to worry about, being voted out of office. They're going to be out of office anyway, so they can do whatever they want. And that's a definite reason that I don't want Obama to get a second term, because he's kind of a maniac. Him and his wife is an even bigger maniac than him, and I think she has a lot of influence over him. His wife is probably the most insane person to ever step inside the White House. So, sorry to say, but yeah. Other than maybe Zachary Taylor. Yeah, he was he was a raging alcoholic, and he was elected president. Oh, those are the olden times for you. Let's move on. Mr. Go Lucky Fish. I'm seeing a lot of the same names again. I understand if you guys want to post like more than one comment, but try to do it in a rapid progression, so that I'm not going to your comment and then going to someone else's comment and then going back to another one of yours. Because I'm looking at these 4 comments. It's Nenson Dubois, Mr. Go Lucky Fish, then Nenson Dubois again, then Pack is Back 04, and then Mr. Go Lucky Fish. So it's kind of confusing to the listeners. Let me get to Pack is Back 04, actually. Pretty interesting that they're taking so long in making the next Limbo game. Better be great if it takes that long. This also brings me to my question, would you rather wait 2 years for a good game or 6 years for a masterpiece? Well, I definitely wait 6 years for a masterpiece, as long as it actually is a masterpiece. I mean, there's a certain threshold, and it's kind of difficult to find out exactly where it is. Like, you start off waiting. An average game does take about 2 years to complete. Average game. Working on it longer, it should be better, but then there's a certain threshold where it just becomes development hell, and that's where you get into games like Daikatana, or Duke Nukem Forever, or what was that one that... forget it, I don't remember. But there's a lot of games like that. I remember Perfect Dark took a really long time to come out on the Nintendo 64, and it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. It seemed like it was never going to come out, and then when it came out, I felt it was definitely a masterpiece. But sometimes games take a long time because there's a lot of internal problems with the developer, and you know what I mean? I don't mind a developer taking a long time to finish a game if they're just taking their time to do it properly and to make the best product possible. But if they're having problems and there's a lot of infighting and issues, then it's going to be a crappy game. So in that case, Duke Nukem Forever would have been better if it came out 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So there's that to be said. Okay, and then back to Mr. Go Lucky Fish, who says, also, I haven't made a lot of progress on Chronicles of a Dark Lord yet. I purchased Persona 4 because I've always wanted to play through it, and it took up a tremendous amount of my time. Sorry about that. Don't be sorry. Persona 4 is one of those masterpieces. Great game. Definitely let me know, when you get back to Chronicles of Dark Lord, your thoughts on it and everything. Moving on. Dreadnought2448 says, hey Necro, glad to have the VMX show back. My question is, do you agree with all the people out there claiming that Mario is starting to get milked like Call of Duty? I noticed that a lot of people are saying that since we have 2 2D Mario platformers coming out this year. Thanks. P.S. VMX show fucking rocks. Well, that's kind of silly because, it used to be there was like one major Mario game coming out like every generation. You had Super Mario 64, and there wasn't any other Mario games on the Nintendo 64 other than the spin-offs. And I'm not talking about the spin-offs, I'm talking about the core series here. On the GameCube, you only had Super Mario Sunshine. On the DS, you only had New Super Mario Bros. We were begging for a sequel to New Super Mario Bros. It never happened. Super Mario Galaxy came out. We got a sequel to that. Everybody was happy. It sold well. Everybody liked it. So Nintendo was saying, hey, maybe we should go back to sort of the days of like the NES where there were 3 games on the system. Because there was Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3. So Also the fact that they're on completely different systems and they're on completely new systems. New Super Mario Bros. 2 is on the 3DS. There hasn't been like a 3DS two-dimensional Mario game. There was Super Mario 3D World, and there's New Super Mario Bros. 2. I don't see a problem with that. New Super Mario Bros. U on the Wii U, that's a completely different system that isn't even out yet. And as for you saying it's coming out this year, we don't know that. We don't know that at all. We don't even know that the Wii U is coming out this year. We're only speculating that it is. It probably is. But New Super Mario Bros. U, is it coming out this year? We don't know that. So just because they were shown at the same time does not constitute milking. And by the way, I don't think that Call of Duty is milked either, because you get one a year, but the only reason that you're getting one a year is because they're bouncing back and forth between two developers. So basically, they do take 2 years to make. Like an example of a franchise that was actually milk would be Guitar Hero, where there was like 3 or 4 of them coming out in a year, all from the same developer. I understand those games are very easy to develop, but it was a bit too much all at once, and it kind of killed not only the franchise, but the genre in general. Okay, now the next comment is from somebody named I Slay Black People, and for that reason alone, I am not going to read it, and I'm going to tell you, do not leave me any comments anymore, unless you come up with a username that is less stupid. Alright, moving on. The Amazing Tony Rose says, it's back. No, it has begun. Anyway, now to the question. I'm trying to get into the Castlevania franchise. Currently, my strategy to get into the series involves playing them all in chronological order of the year they take place in. Therefore, I've begun with Lament of Innocence, which I'm enjoying thoroughly. So my question is, am I tackling the series incorrectly? Should I be playing in release order instead? What's your take on this? Personally, I'm not going to say that you're tackling it incorrectly, because I don't think there's an incorrect way to do it. I think that doing it your way is going to lead to a little bit of confusion with the newer games, such as Lords of Shadows and Lords of Shadows 2 and Mirror of Fate, which take place in a completely different continuity. So you kind of miss out on that. But that being said, you're not the first person that has done this. I actually know somebody who did do that. They played through all the Castlevania games in order of the story. And I certainly have to say that is interesting. But when taking a very long-running series like that, I don't think that there's really a right or wrong way to tackle it. Since even though there is a timeline, it's not like there's such a linear progression that you're going to miss out on things. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, it's not like each game is not its own separate entity. They are their own separate entities. They can be played in any order you want to. So really, as for right or wrong, I don't think that there's a correct or an incorrect way. Moving on, Steve Satchton says, hey dude, just wondering, do you think that 9/11 was a conspiracy? But no. Okay, moving on. No. As a matter of fact, if you want my thoughts on that, I think that South Park summed it up perfectly. I do find myself agreeing with South Park more often than not. So they did an episode about it. I forget what the episode was called, but basically, Cartman was really into the whole conspiracy theories and like loose change and all that kind of nonsense, and everybody else is like, dude, what are you, retarded? And he's like, 1/4 of Americans thinks that 9/11 is a conspiracy. Are you saying that 1/4 of Americans is retarded? And they're like, yeah, at least 1/4. Sounds about right. Let's do a test sample. There's 4 of us. You're retarded. That's 1/4. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm gonna move on. What? Mr. Go Lucky Fish says, I downloaded the Microsoft document for safekeeping. If anyone wants it, feel free to PM me. I'll upload it to MediaFire. Oh, I think he's talking... You got to be a little bit more clear, but I think he's talking about the Xbox document, the supposed business document. Haven't heard much about that in the past week, so I don't know if that's really a thing or not. Like, I know it's a thing, but I don't know if it's true. It is out there. It does seem to be legit. I know Microsoft seems to be doing what they can to squash it. So there you go. So if anybody actually wants to read this business document that supposedly is plans for the next Xbox console, you might want to send a message to Mr. Go Lucky Fish. Now, I do have a guest on this episode. Chris Collett is going to be in here in a little bit, and we talked about the next Xbox and, some of the plans that were in there. So we'll move on. Payate says, Rodney King's passing. Your thoughts? Well, I don't really have any thoughts. I hate to say it, but Rodney King was a nobody. I mean, he was just... I mean, I know that it sort of woke the nation up and everything, but he was not a famous guy. He was just some guy. He was a criminal who got beat up by some cops who basically... I mean, he was a criminal, but basically they were beating on him because he was black, which was completely wrong because he wasn't doing anything to facilitate a beating. And that was really it. I mean, it led to a lot of riots and a lot of issues, but it sort of woke the nation up to police brutality and racism and whatnot. But it's not like he was Rosa Parks, you know what I mean? It's not like he was some brave person. He was just some guy who had a rap sheet as long as your arm that got beat up by some racist cops. So I heard that he drowned. Apparently, they think it was a suicide. I don't really have any thoughts on that, to be honest. I don't really think about Rodney King. I'm going to move on. Savage Broadcast says, good stuff as always, and your voice at the beginning sounds a lot like Mel Brooks. Oh, so I was wondering if anybody could tell that was me doing the intro, or if they thought that it was like some old guy. That was me. I don't know if I sound like Mel Brooks, but thanks. Quick ones for you. Number one, with the newer details of Luigi's Mansion 2, aka Dark Moon, do you hope or want the Mansion games to become a long-running series? And number two, do you like any Eddie Murphy films? Well, as for Luigi's Mansion, I did very much enjoy the original Luigi's Mansion, and I think that this one looks interesting. As for a long-running series, it depends. Are they going to be good, or is it going to be kind of the same thing? I can see it being more like something that happens like once every few years, As for Eddie Murphy films, yeah, I like a bunch of Eddie Murphy films. As a matter of fact, some of my favorite comedies are some of his output in the 80s, like Trading Places was a really funny movie. Coming to America is one of my absolute favorite comedies of all time. I like the first Nutty Professor. After that, it kind of got weird. What else from Eddie Murphy? I like the first Dr. Dolittle. Once again, that got like a really bad sequel, but... Daddy, what was the first one? Daddy Daycare? I kind of liked that one. It was kind of funny. And then there was a sequel that Eddie Murphy wasn't even in. I think they replaced him with Cuba Gooding Jr., who is a good actor but not a good comedian, so it wasn't funny. Yeah, I mean, there's probably more, but I do, Eddie Murphy's kind of hit or miss. Like, he either hits the nail on the head and comes out with an absolutely brilliant, funny movie, or it's a complete miss and it's a complete piece of shit. So it's kind of, there's nothing in between, really. Uber McPhailso says, what is the dumbest comment you've seen on YouTube? Oh, man. I can't even really give a definitive answer to that because I've gotten so many dumb comments, not only on my channel, but I've also seen incredibly stupid comments on other people's videos and channels. And so, I mean, it would kind of become like a one-up-topper situation where if I say, like, the dumbest comment, somebody else would come up with something dumber and dumber and dumber until we're all brain dead. I'll give one example of one that's just jumping to my mind right now. Somebody posted on one of my videos, fuck you, but the best part was they misspelled you. Instead of Y-O-U, it was J-O-U. So it was like, and then there was like exclamation points. So it was like, fuck you! And I'm like, okay. I just thought that was like, if you're going to just be that concise, at least spell it right. Moving on. Dark Mist of Night 2008 says, what is the weirdest game you've ever played? Weirdest game? Mad World is a really weird game. At its heart, it's a beat-em-up, but it's also a black and white comic book styled beat-em-up where the object isn't to beat all the enemies, but to beat them in really creative ways. Like the more violently you kill them, the more points you rack up. And then there's the really bizarre challenges like head golf and all sorts of weird shit. And the soundtrack, everything about it is just really strange. That's one example that pops into my mind. But I have played some really strange games over the years. Some of them to their detriment. Some of them are so weird that it's like not even worth playing. Mad World's probably the strangest game that I played that I actually really enjoyed. So I'll stick with that as my answer for now. Dave Cornfan. Got a lot of comments this week. Wow. Dave Cornfan says, yes, it's back. Loving the intro and title card. You know, I threw that together at the last second. The title card was like, it's pathetic. I was going to do something really cool. And I was going to do it, like, I start working on it like a week in advance, but I started working on something for my job. I started working on a Sheen Doria Zero Chronicle box art, which you could see at KizaroStudios.com, by the way. It came out amazing. And then I forgot to do the title card, so then when I was sitting down to record the first VMX show, I was like, oh shit, I didn't make a title card. And I threw together that golden stamp thing like in like 5 minutes. So I'm glad you like it, but it was really last minute thrown together. Let's see, moving on. I was wondering, what do you like better, JRPGs or Western RPGs? Personally, I like Western ones more, mainly because of the Elder Scrolls series, among others, of course. I just really like the level up system in Western RPGs more. I also love JRPGs, just prefer Western RPGs. You know, I'm going to say that I kind of like them both equally for different reasons. I mean, Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate, all that stuff's great. And then, you know, you have Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and Zelda and all that. And, you know, they're great for different reasons, so I can't say which I like better. I think I like them both equally. I definitely play more JRPGs, but that's just the way it works out. There are more of them. Moving on. Red Devil Dazzy 2007. Let's see, he has 2 comments with 3 numbered questions. Great episode, Necro. The intro was quite funny. Though I assure you I'm not a weirdo, just responding to what you said in the last episode. Oh, no, trust me, you're a weirdo. You say the weirdest shit. Yeah. Moving on. On with the questions, and I need to come up with better ones than the ones I posted last time. Number 1, I recently purchased a PlayStation Vita, plus I also purchased the game Gravity Rush for it. I haven't got it yet at the time of posting this comment. If you were to purchase a Vita in the future, what would be the first game you'd want to play? I don't know. I'm kind of waiting for like the killer games. You know, like there's some really cool ones out right now, but like I don't need like another version of Mortal Kombat. You know, I don't know. I'm waiting for like the new East game, so that would probably be it right there. And actually, I did get your message from the other day. Apparently, he didn't get his Vita. It was like lost in the mail or something, so he's got to put in a claim and everything. And I know that's a huge pain in the ass to do. So good luck with that. Let's see. Number 2, the Eurovision Song Contest. I really tend to think it's meh. Have you heard of it before? I have no idea what you're talking about, and I don't really want to know. Eurovision Song Contest? What the fuck? And number 3, I've been wondering about Beyond Good and Evil 2 and The Last Guardian. Those 2 games are long overdue, I think. Which one has the more promise? Good luck with this season, dude. Actually, and you know what? The Last Guardian, that was the one game that I was trying to think of earlier when I was talking about games that just get really delayed and everything. I think The Last Guardian actually does have a slight chance of coming out, though it might be in a stunted form since the original creator of the Eco series has left Team Eco and Sony. Beyond Good and Evil 2, that's been, you know, it's been like a generation. I think if that comes out, it's going to be like another Daikatana or a Duke Nukem Forever. I don't think that one's ever going to come out, and if it does, it will probably be pretty bad. Or it won't live up to the hype, you know what I mean? Or it'll come out and it'll be good, but nobody will care. So there you have it. Moving on. Zombie Ryushu says, 2 questions. Did you ever play Mega Man 8-Bit Deathmatch? Because neither you nor Silent Rob has played Mega Man 8-Bit Deathmatch. If you play it with the Classes mod. Isn't that a Doom one? I don't know. I've never played it. And I don't know who Silent Rob is, and I don't know why you're bringing up some other dude. That's weird. All right. Second, what do you think of the fact that there are old-school Windows 9X games that won't run under real current Windows, but will run under Wine or Linux? Okay, so what you're saying, yeah, the reason is because starting with Windows XP, they were basically, okay, Windows was basically started as just a GUI, a graphic user interface for an operating system known as DOS, which is the Digital Operating System. And Windows 1, Windows 2, Windows 3, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows Millennium, they were all not really operating systems, but they were graphic user interfaces for DOS. starting with Windows XP, Windows actually became a real operating system, and that's why it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get DOS games to run, and that does include games that were made for Windows 95 and Windows 98, which are basically the same thing, by the way, just with different bells and whistles. Very difficult to get them run. Now, the reason that they'll run under Wine on Linux is because Wine is an emulator, and it's designed to emulate Windows 95 and Windows 98. So that's why that happens. It's sad to say that, there are a lot of older games. Now, if you want to play older games to work on newer systems, I would recommend checking out GOG.com. That's GOG.com, stands for Good Old Games. And what they do is they take these old games, usually late DOS era or Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows Millennium, that kind of era, and they make them work on modern systems. They strip out all the DRM and they make it work. And it's kind of like Steam in a way, but for older games. Highly recommend checking out that. Tractorman287 says Magnum PI or Miami Vice. Now this is interesting, because those shows, I was a kid when those shows were on, and I definitely, if I would have answered then, I would have told you Magnum PI, because I remember watching that show all the time. So as a kid, the answer is Magnum PI. As an adult, you watch Magnum PI and it's kind of silly, and Miami Vice suddenly seems a lot more brilliant. So I got to go with Miami Vice as an adult. Mid G-Man fan 128 says, what is the stupidest game you've ever played? Crazy Bus. It's also the worst game I've ever played. Cobra DVS says, yeah, he's not from another country. I think he's just dumb or something. Ha ha ha. That's something I said last week. Anyway, glad to see the show's return. My question is, it's obvious that there will be a 3D style Mario game on the Wii U. Would you like to see Mario Galaxy 3 or a new Mario concept? I'm probably in the minority here, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Super Mario Sunshine sequel. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Thanks. I would like to see another Mario Galaxy, simply because I think they really hit the nail on the head. I think that Mario Galaxy was the first 3D Mario game that really fired on all cylinders. Super Mario 64 was a good game, but it had poor controls. Super Mario Sunshine was better in terms of the controls and everything, but then it had some questionable design concepts, and it did very much stick to the same aesthetic of Super Mario 64, going into the same stages over and over again with the same exact layout and just doing different things. So it's kind of weird in that sense. Galaxy, I thought, really hit the nail on the head. Unless they can come up with something new that's as good. Well, Mario 3D Land kind of fits that trope too, so there you have it. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Let's see. Dark Hill Pick 28 says, I've got two questions. Number one, did you think 3D movies are starting to become overused? Starting to become? I think they've been overused for a while now. And are you a fan of Pauly Shore? I don't think Pauly Shore really has fans. I've seen a few movies with him in them that I've tolerated, and I've seen a few movies with him in them that were absolutely god-awful. But I wouldn't say that I'm a fan. I've seen his movies. Moving on. I'm sorry that I'm moving on so fast, but I have a lot of questions. I'm getting towards the end here. But like I said, I have a guest this week, and they also have news to get through, so I'm trying to go through this quickly. Rocker Josh 717 says, so, you would have a panther as a domesticated animal and then have them attack people who annoy you? Might as well wear a red tuxedo, dye your hair blonde, and change your name to Rugal. Well, that would actually be pretty awesome. There you go. The Last Samurai 14 says, if you could... that's our guest today, I think. Oh, no, it's not. That's not. He uses something samurai as a name. Never mind. Now, The Last Samurai 14 says, if you could have a completely new mechanic implemented into a future Castlevania game, what would it be? That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I kind of leave it up to them, to be honest. They've always pleased me. I'm not going to mess with that, to be honest. B. Salber 1212 says, you are seriously one of the best commentators around. Well, thank you. You deserve way more attention, but I'm happy you have a controllable fan base and can reply to comments. Yeah, that's important to me. I definitely reply to comments a lot less than I used to, simply because I just don't have the time anymore, but I try to reply to as many comments as I can. Plus, I get a lot more than I used to, so there's that. So I try to selectively reply to good comments when I can. It's difficult though, you know. Obviously, the VMX show, like if you want to comment on something and you want to actually get a reply, VMX show or the Facebook are your best bets. Crypto 144 says, cut the blue wire, crap, too late. That was in response to one of the questions from last season, actually. Chris Byrne 86 says, hey Necro, did you ever play Lost Odyssey on the 360? No. I thought it was a great RPG. I've been searching the internet periodically for news of a sequel, but have found nothing. Just wondering if you knew anything. I know nothing. If someone gave you £40, whatever that is in dollars, cost of a new game, I guess it would be about $60, and you had to spend it on one game that day, what would you buy? I don't know. I mean, whatever I'm looking for. I don't know. Like, if I had to buy, like, go to the store and buy a game right now, like today, I don't know. What would I pick up? I don't know. I kind of have everything I need right now. I might pick up that, well, I don't know, is that Persona 4 Arena out yet? I don't think it's out yet, but I'm going to give that as the answer anyway. Insane Wayne 253 says, will we ever see a zombie sneak attack music video that you would send to MTV, and what was the best song written in your opinion? Okay. You know, if I ever sent a zombie sneak attack music video to MTV, it would be as a joke. What was the best song written in your... I mean, are you talking about the best zombie sneak attack song or best song in general? I'm gonna answer as if he asked me what was the best zombie sneak attack song written, and I would have to say it's a song you haven't heard. It's called "Eating Pizza with a Fork and Knife and 32 Other Dick Moves." I'm gonna throw that up on YouTube one day because it's a single. It's not on any album. I Fuck Like an Animal says, are there any TV shows that you don't like but you understand the appeal of? That's how I feel about American Idol. I guess it's like every show ever, really, that I mean, because, like, even if a show is completely stupid, I do understand the appeal. It appeals to stupid people, so there you go. So that's like every show ever that I don't like, really. Betty Jesuit says, what is the worst indie game you've played? Oh, wow. Okay, worst indie game I've played? It would have to be Crazy Bus. Crazy Bus is the answer to 2 questions this week. There's another removed comment. What is up with you people? Don't remove your comments. I'm not doing it this week because I'm pressed for time, but usually I go into my email and pull your comments out of there and read them. Well, here's the last comment. Hans Fartnucker says, what is the funniest game you've played? And what are your thoughts on the upcoming game, Lollipop Chainsaw? I don't care about Lollipop Chainsaw. I'm going to answer that first. I don't see the appeal. I think it looks stupid. I think that it's just... It's kind of like what Tomb Raider was back in the PlayStation era. Not that this is anything like Tomb Raider, but the idea is that, like, here's a hot chick, buy our game. You know what I mean? And by the way, Tomb Raider, I mean, the reason that Lara has such huge tits, I mean, in the first game they were just triangles anyway, but, you know, somebody was working on her model and they accidentally increased her breast size by 150%, and then everybody convinced him to keep it that way. And one of the producers said, you've just made this game a bestseller. And it's like, at that point, why even bother working on the gameplay if you're just going to give us tits? So Lollipop Chainsaw is kind of a modernized version of that same aesthetic. Like, here's a hot chick, buy our game. It just looks stupid, you know what I mean? As for the funniest game I've played, actually, and this is really weird, but it's got to be Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, because I lost count of how many times I laughed out loud at that. Not just, you know, the regular dialogue, but just, like, everything. Like, I would always keep Goombella in my party, because she's my favorite character in that, and I found her to be very funny. Not only for that reason, though, but because you could tattle everybody, and she would make comments about, like, every single NPC in every single area, and I found a lot of them to be really amusing, so that's the answer to that. Anyway, that's the questions and comments now. I do have a guest, so we're going to bring him in here right now. So, everybody, welcome to the show. Chris Collett. He's got some 2s in his name. I think it's Chris Collett 22, or maybe Chris Collett 222. He'll say it at the end of the interview. So, let's bring him in.
Okay, so Chris Collett is on the show again. And Chris, what season were you on again? Remind me here.
I was on season 3 and season 4.
Season 3 and 4, so now you're on season 6.
Yeah.
Let me know what brought you here today. What do you want to talk about today?
Basically Wii U, how it captured everybody's attention. And
It certainly did.
yeah, and the Pikmin 3 game.
Oh, you know I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, Miyamoto was talking about how Pikmin 1 and 2 you couldn't see all around you, and the third game's supposed to do that. It's supposed to help you.
Yeah, now, what do you think of this, the fact that it is skipped the Wii in its entirety? I mean, we did have new play control versions of Pikmin and Pikmin 2, but basically those were re-released, dolled-up versions of GameCube games. We got Pikmin 1 and 2, and for 6 years we've been waiting for the third game. Didn't come, and now we have to buy a whole new system to play it. I personally am rather irritated by that.
I can see where you're irritated at, because here you've got Pikmin 1 and 2 for the GameCube, and you're going, finally, Pikmin 3 for the Wii. What?
Yeah, which never happened.
You're like, where is it? And you get nothing. And then he just comes out and goes, oh, Pikmin 3? That's going to be on the Wii U.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Everybody's like, what happened to the Wii? The reason why is I think he was waiting for the perfect hardware and the perfect controls to bring it.
I guess there's something to be said for doing it at the proper time. I mean, personally, I would have loved to have seen a Pikmin game on the Wii. I would have loved to have seen a Pikmin game on the DS as well, which never happened.
You might see one on 3DS.
Yeah, I suppose that's possible.
Because they're getting Smash Brothers on the 3DS, which is supposed to coexist with the Wii U version.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because recently, and I'm talking about this in the news section of the show, recently more info has come out about Super Smash Bros. 4, or whatever it may be called. Initially, we knew that Project Sora was involved with it, who developed Kid Icarus Uprising.
Yeah,
But that didn't exactly fit me in, that didn't exactly fill me with excitement, because look how long it took Kid Icarus to come out, and I'm thinking, how long is it going to take them to do the Super Smash Bros. Game? Now the news has come out that Namco Bandai is going to be involved in the development as well.
Oh, that means Tekken and,
Well, but yeah, they did develop Tekken. I mean, they've developed lots of games.
Yeah, but that means we're going to have crossover with Tekken characters, just in...
No, I doubt it. I doubt. I mean, like I said, they're helping out with development. That doesn't mean, and besides, if they stuck some of their characters in there, it's not necessarily.
It'd be
bad,
more like Dig Dug and Pac-Man and.
Yeah, those are characters that I could see, and Namco has never been strangers to crossover. They did crossovers with Capcom many times in the past, including, Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Which looks a really great game. I should go out and buy that.
I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews on that one.
Well, if Tekken were to do a game like that just all on its own, maybe the sales might boost up some.
Well, the sales don't need boosting. That's a top-selling series.
Yeah, but like
right
you
there.
said, it's all about button smashing.
Yeah, but it sells.
Well,
so they don't really need to change anything to change the sales.
I could go get Dead or Alive 5 and do the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, all those 3D games kind of have that going.
I like Mortal Kombat's 3D style because it kept the move controls into it, where you have to do certain button combinations to perform a move.
Well, yeah, I mean, it puts some skill into it. I mean, I thought Mortal Kombat, just the one called Mortal Kombat, been the best fighting game in a long while, and I think that sort of has revitalized the genre, which had been flagged.
It has. And, getting to Mortal Kombat, what would you think would be in the Part 10?
Well, I don't really know where they're going to go with it. I think it would be stupid to assume that they're not going to do it. I mean, they are probably going to make one. I really don't know what they're planning, because, I mean, there's so many different directions they can go, and they could easily, since the previous Mortal Kombat was sort of a redux of 1, 2, and 3, they could do a redux of 4, 5,
yeah, or
and 6.
do a complete game overall.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do a redux, you gotta go through it a little quicker.
Yeah, and the way the way 1, 2, and 3 ended with the story mode, it brings in Quan Chi. Well, Quan Chi was already there, but it brings in Shinnok. So you're all...
Yeah. Well, the only challenge there is everybody's dead.
Well, you got Tanya, Kai, Ryuko, Fujin.
Yeah, but these are the characters nobody likes.
Well, you got Havoc. You got Strawman.
Yeah.
You got...
Yeah, but like I said, these are not exactly the popular characters. Part of the reason that Mortal Kombat was so successful was because it used the most recognizable and iconic
Yeah, like
characters.
Scorpion, Sub-Zero kept coming back, and... Well...
Yeah, exactly. And now since so many of them... I mean, you could have those newer characters kind of mixed in there, and they do fine, but so many of the iconic characters were killed off.
You could have, well...
Spoiler alert.
Well, you got Raiden, Sonya, and Johnny Cage. And Kano, which I doubt those four are going to carry the whole game on their back.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, Scorpion also.
Yeah.
You can have Scorpion,
You
Quan
can have
Chi. So I guess it's not as bad, and I mean, I guess they could be there as zombies
You can have
or
New
whatever.
Sabot, because he's just, Bihan's just a wandering soul. So, technically, he can still possess somebody and come back, just like if you played the Cyber Sub-Zero through the ladder, and you beat the game, you see Shao Kahn taking him over.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, getting back to the Wii U, what are your thoughts on the console as a whole? You said it caught a lot of people's eye, obviously. There is a lot that is intriguing
The motion pads caught my eye, because it's like giving you a tablet for yourself, for a video game user.
Now, Microsoft is announcing their own tablet for Xbox. Do you think that everybody is kind of panicking about what Nintendo's doing and that they have to get in on it before it's too late?
I doubt it, because Nintendo's always been the laid back. You know what? Let's Sony and Xbox or Microsoft fight each other, and we'll make a controller that they'll later copy us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you think that the fact that just recently Microsoft has announced a tablet, do you think they're kind of in panic mode right now?
I don't think so. Not from this point.
Why not? Why don't you think that? I mean, because I think that it's pretty obvious that Microsoft feels that they have to copy.
Well, you see, that would put Microsoft panicking. That they're
That's what I
thought you were talking about Nintendo. But yeah, Microsoft is definitely panicking, because they're right now going, we need this for our Xbox, just like after Nintendo released it for the Wii U.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, every time Nintendo does something, it seems that these other companies are like, oh, that's stupid, but then they kind of sneak in their own version of it.
The Kinect.
Like, the Move controller, the Kinect, and now the tablet for, you know, and I thought that was funny, because at E3, they were really pushing this whole idea, this, what was it called, Glassbook, or whatever the hell it was, that you could use, you know, devices that you already own. The guy kept saying that over and over again. Devices that you already own. Basically kind of hinting at the idea that they're bringing the Wii U experience without you having to buy a possibly expensive gamepad. But then they come out with their own
come out with their own tablet.
Yeah, so obviously that wasn't working for them.
Reggie and Miyamoto saying, for people who ain't used to the tablet, we still got controllers for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could use the Wiimote, you could use the controller, and you have the tablets as well. And it seemed that most of the rumors about the Wii U were not true. There were rumors that it was going to be very, very expensive, and Nintendo hasn't released the price, but they've said it's going to be a pleasant surprise. The rumors that it would only take one of those gamepads, and in fact it can take two. So it's kind of interesting how a lot of the assumptions about the system are being blasted.
Oh yeah. One thing I found out about Nintendo is it'll probably be right around the $300 mark, but when you buy the Wii U, you're going to get you a tablet and maybe a game that they just quickly developed and put together, like Wii Sports. You might get something with it. So you're getting more for $300 bucks.
Well, we don't know how much it's going to cost, and I mean, I think that a lot of the speculation is really kind of silly because we don't know. We don't know, and there's really no way to tell. I mean, you got guys saying it's going to be $500, $600, and you got guys saying it's going to be $200, and it's probably going to be somewhere in between.
Hopefully it won't be like the Neo Geo. But
well, the Neo Geo was, the reason it was so expensive is because it was the same exact hardware.
Yeah, it's like having a mini arcade in your house. So.
Yeah, I mean, it even had the buttons on the actual console that you would press to like add your token.
But the Wii U, they're trying to take a lot of the menu screen out from the games, put it in the tablet.
Yes. Yeah, you know, and that clears up the screen. It also adds tension. I mean, we saw the whole thing with Zombie U.
I was impressed by that game.
Where you had to look away from the screen and look at the tablet while zombies are coming at you.
I was impressed with that feature. I mean, a lot of the third partiers are going to see, hey, this is going to give us a way to experience more with our games now. And
yeah. Now, but what do you think about, you know, Sony's next move and Microsoft's next move in terms of the next Xbox and the next PlayStation? I mean, it seems the next Xbox is going to come pre-bundled with a Kinect.
Yeah.
And personally, to me, that's a turnoff because it's going to inflate the price by giving me something that I'm not really interested in.
And there ain't a whole lot of games that you'd be interested in for Kinect.
I mean, even if there was, I just think that the Kinect is just a broken idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, when they showed the prototype now, how it could copy stuff and things, might make it a little interesting, but
I don't know. I always was rather skeptical about it. I know some people who were kind of thinking it might be better than what it was, but yeah, you know.
It is what you get. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I just think that, you know, I don't want to stand around flailing my arms around to play a game. I just want to play the game, and for them to say that it's going to come with the built-in Kinect version 2. It's like, well, how much is that going to cost?
How much is it going to cost by itself, too? I mean,
well, they're not. You know, I mean, are they going to sell a version?
Probably will. I mean,
I hope they do because that would be the only one.
Because a lot of people's not going to run out and buy a new Xbox just for that.
No, but I'm talking. Yeah, I mean, the next Xbox console, the Xbox 3.
Yeah,
is what I'm talking about. This is supposedly coming with a new version of Kinect built into it. And I'm thinking that this is... You got to really pay attention to what I'm saying here, because this is what I've been talking about for the past 5 minutes. If the next Xbox comes with the Kinect, I'm not interested because that's just going to make it cost another extra $100 that you're paying for this, you know, Kinect version 2, when it's not something that I feel like using.
I mean...
So I don't know about that. I mean, and I don't know what Sony's going to be doing.
Sony will probably just keep the PlayStation 3 out as a little bit longer as they can.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, you know, I think that would be the smart thing to do. Would be to just stick with what they got, especially since the PlayStation 3 is only recently kind of come into its own.
Kind of like how the PS2 did it.
Yeah, the PlayStation line of consoles in general are slow starters.
But then again, maybe that new Kinect with the new Xbox, maybe that might be the whole controller scheme.
Well, then I would be going over to PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but then again, a lot of the controllers for these new consoles are going to involve some kind of way of movement.
Well, that's fine, but there's got to actually be a controller.
Yeah, for the people who don't really feel like, hey, I'm not going to get up and play Halo 5 or Halo 6. I just want to lay in my bed or sit in my chair and play.
Well, yeah, like, how does that work? How does that work for a Halo game? What do you point your finger and go bang, bang, bang? It's kind of silly.
Well, look back on the Wii. At least they did make a whole gun kind of system for theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first-person shooter controls on the Wii are magnificent. It's just a shame there aren't that many first-person shooters on the Wii.
Yeah, really. anyway, how's that going to work for the future Call of Duty games, too, like you said? What are you going to do? Point your finger or act like you're throwing a grenade where you're really not throwing nothing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the intricacies of getting that level of control that FPS gamers are used to, of switching weapons quickly, of being able to move effectively, and aiming in a precise manner. It's not going to be something that I can see. I mean, they have to have a controller. I don't think that they'll abandon traditional controls. I'm just concerned about them forcing a Kinect on us.
I know what you're talking about, because, you know, a lot of gamers like, well, when they make a game, they give a lot of this stuff, and they map it to a button. How you gonna map it to the human body?
Very carefully?
I don't know, maybe you'll be reaching for the sky to, you know, switch your weapon.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just, you need to have buttons, but my point is that even if they do have a controller, I think they need to release a version of the game of the next Xbox that doesn't have.
They probably will.
And because some people are going to be interested in just the core gaming console.
They'll,
unless they find a way to make it very, very cheap. But even if they made it cheap, even if it was $300 with the Kinect, we're just going to be sitting there wondering how much would it have been without the Kinect.
True. It'll probably, without the Kinect, it'd probably be like the PlayStation 3 was when it first came out, right around the $4.99 mark. I mean,
actually, it was $5.99.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to have to realize one day that these consoles, more adapt that they get, the more expensive they're going to reach.
Absolutely.
So, actually, we're seeing a future Neo Geo price range.
Yeah, I mean, well, the PlayStation 3 was already there, and that's when it was a failed system and it wasn't doing good, and as soon as they dropped the price to a manageable $300, suddenly everybody was interested in the PlayStation 2, started to become a contender in the video game industry.
I'll tell you the truth, I like the PS3 better than the Xbox, but now I like games like Skyrim and Oblivion and stuff like that for the Xbox. Because Skyrim as it is a pretty decent, well-set game. Bethesda does a lot for their stuff, and even if you got Rage, Doom 4 is coming out soon, the whole first-person shooter genre fits perfect on the Xbox as it does the PS3.
Well, the controller is certainly more adapted to games such as first-person shooters and third-person action games. The Xbox controller just feels more natural to me. I mean, even with fighting games, I feel that it's more natural. You know, and it's interesting. Have you seen the Wii U controller? Not the tablet, but the actual controller. It looks like an Xbox.
Yeah, the only difference is the buttons is where the stick is, and the stick is where the buttons is.
Yeah, it's switched up a little, and I think it would take some getting used to, but I think it would be fun.
Well, you got the new Super Mario Brothers for the Wii U.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, but that's something you could play with holding a Wiimote to the side.
Yeah, that's a decent, solid platforming game. Bringing all the old styles and giving it a new look.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, it was great having you on, but we got a tight show here, not a lot of time, so we're going to have to kick you out of here. All right, but great having you on there. If anybody else wants to come on and just talk about games, talk about what's going on in the gaming industry, give me a call. All right, and anybody, just you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
And why don't you plug your channel?
My channel is ChrisCott222, and I've been trying to get my own talk show started, but it's a slow start.
Yeah, well, it's not easy.
I know, it's hard to find guests, and some guests try to speed you up sometimes, and...
Oh, I talked to him. He's going to make it up. He says.
I'm still looking for it, too. If not...
I believe it.
Yeah, if not, I'll just get you whenever you're free.
All right, well, I'll see you, man.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Okay, so let's get back to the show, and actually, before I get to the news, I just a little while ago, got another comment on last week's episode, so let me read that out real quick. Happy Dude 2626 says, what is your favorite Treehouse of Horror segment? That's a shame that you just gave me that question now, because I'd have to really think about that. But actually, you know what? I actually do have an answer. I thought really funny one was Time and Punishment, where Homer kept going back in time and he kept fucking things up, and then there were all these different realities, and like I remember the perfect one where they were rich and the kids were polite and everything seemed perfect, and then Homer asks for a donut and they said, what's a donut? And he runs screaming out towards the time machine, because as perfect as the reality was, he won't live in a world without donuts, and he's like, ah! And he runs screaming out of there, and then donuts start falling from the sky, and Marge is like, oh, it's raining again, but he's already gone. So it was like Homer's perfect reality. So that, just thinking about it, I'm laughing. But let's get on to the news. I do have a lot of news to get through. Some interesting things have happened in the last week. Now, let's see. Let me get to the top of my document here. Okay, God of War. The new God of War game is called God of War Ascension. We know that, but we do have a collector's edition. Now, that's not a surprise, but that's up for pre-order up on Amazon, so you can check that out. It is now taking pre-orders. It is $80 for the God of War Ascension Special Edition, which includes an exclusive 8-inch Kratos statue, a steelbook case, a digital soundtrack, avatars, a dynamic theme, a pass for all future DLC releases, and a code for double XP in multiplayer. That sounds like a really good deal, to be honest. So if you're into the God of War series, it's $80. That's basically, you're just spending $20 more on the game. You get the statue, the steelbook case, you get the soundtrack, you get all sorts of digital content, and also all future DLC is already paid for, so I think that you're going to come out on top for that. So if you're into that series, definitely check that out. Now, I was talking a little bit about this last week, and it looks like it is going to happen. Microsoft will be announcing their own tablet that will work with Xbox Live. So there you have it. Apparently, they were supposed to reveal this on the 18th through Barnes & Noble, and then apparently Barnes & Noble said, no, that's not happening. So I'm actually not sure the status is to that announcement as to when that's going to happen. We talked about that a little bit with Chris Collett, so I'm just going to move on. Now, bad news for people who like to play games on Google+, all 6 of you. PopCap and Wooga will be taking all of their games off of Google+. As a matter of fact, they've already started to take their games off. Wooga shut down Monster World a while back. EA, who owns PopCap, they are going to be removing Bejeweled Blitz. Actually, I think they have already. And basically, they're saying they're going to redeploy our resources to other adaptations of Bejeweled. In other words, whatever deal that they had with Google Plus fell through, and they're probably going to bring it to Facebook. Or probably they realize that nobody uses Google Plus except for, like, hipsters. So there you have it. I do have some details on the Kirby 20th Anniversary game. This is coming to the Wii. Let's see, I actually have 2 news stories about this. One is, what are you going to get in the Kirby's... The official title is Kirby 20th Anniversary Special Collection. This is coming to the Wii. You are getting 7 Kirby games. You're getting Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy, Kirby's Dream Land 2 for Game Boy, Kirby's Adventure, that was on the NES, Kirby Superstar for the Super NES, Kirby's Dream Land 3 for Super NES, and Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards for Nintendo 64. I thought it was 7 games. That was 6. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is 6 games, but those are the ones that I have here. Let me bring up the other news story while I'm doing this. So yeah, those are the games you're getting. You're also getting a timeline and a soundtrack. That's coming out in Japan on July 19th. Now, I was originally going to say that I had no news as to whether... Yeah, it is 6 games. It's not 7. That was my bad. I had no news as to whether it's coming out in America or not, but I do have news. It will be released in North America for the Wii on September 16th. So that's actually pretty awesome, huh? There you go. Valkyrie Chronicles. I have news about that. There is a new Valkyrie Chronicles game coming, but I have to tell you, don't get excited. Don't get excited. If you just got excited for me telling you that there's a new Valkyrie Chronicles coming out, calm down. It's a Facebook game. Well, it's an online browser game. It's called Valkyrie Chronicles Duel. and it's going to be one of those card battle games. This will be free to play and will feature microtransactions. So if you're really, really, really into this series and you want to check it out, you can check out the official site at Valkyra Duel, at valkyra-duel.hangame.co.jp/LP. So there you go. Not too exciting, really, but there you go. Good news for the people who bought Rage. That is getting some DLC. Called Rage the Scorchers. This popped up on Peggy, and it got the Peggy 18 rating. Release date, according to Peggy, and obviously this would be the release date in Europe, so I'm not sure about American release date, but they have June 14th as being their release date. Obviously, well, it's June 24th, so how is that possible? I mean, obviously, this news story, I mean, this was just a few days ago, so I don't know. Obviously, it's not coming out June 14th, though it would be out already. But sometime in the future, there will be a DLC for Rage, which is called Rage the Scorchers. Bad news for Sega. More bad news for Sega. Anarchy Reigns is getting delayed. Sega has decided to delay the sequel to Mad World, which is a real bitch. It's also a real blow to Platinum Games as the developer. Apparently, they didn't find out about it until the last second. Here's a quote from producer Atsushi Inaba of Platinum Games. Says, first of all, we are done with the international version of Anarchy Reigns. The delay is not due to further development of the game. In fact, today's Q1 2013 release news was the first we've heard of it, and he went on to apologize. The Japanese release will take place on July 5th, which was what was originally going to be, but the international releases are delayed, so that's bad news there. I do have some release details on Doom 3, the BFG edition. I don't have too many details, but I do have some details on the new Doom 3 BFG edition, which will include, as I've already mentioned, remastered versions of Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil, as well as new content called the Lost Mission, as well as Doom 1 and 2. I have news on the release and price. The release date in North America will be October 16th. In Europe, it will be October 19th. The price will be $40 for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. While it will actually be cheaper on PC, you'll get it for $30. So that's cool. You know? Plus, I mean, PC is really the only way to play Doom, in my opinion. Now, here's a news story. I didn't want to talk about this. This came out of Operation Rainfall. I saw this headline, Wii U to allow used games. So, apparently the Wii U will let you play used games, and here's a quote from Scott Moffat. He's the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Nintendo. He said, "It is a reality in the marketplace. We haven't incorporated any features that will discourage used game sales at this point. We're not trying to circumvent that." So, I hate, I hate that this is a news story, and all the speculation and rumors about the next batch of systems doing something to circumvent the playing of used games or prevent the playing of used games. I want to go on a little mini rant about this. This is Capcom's fault. This is Capcom's fault for that fucking 3DS Resident Evil game that wouldn't let you delete your save, and then, all of a sudden they were trying to come up with ways to say, well, if you don't buy our game new, then, you're fucked. And I've really been on an anti-Capcom bend for a while. Actually, I didn't even want to get into a huge rant. I just wanted to mention that it's their fault that people are even talking about this. I can't believe that's a headline. I can't believe that's news. That a system's coming out that will indeed let you play used games. Give me a fucking break. Last week I talked about Game, the big, the former number one retailer of video games in the UK, and they are officially out of business. Well, Game Australia is also going out of business, and they will be closing all of their remaining branches. They've been in trouble for a while. There's only 31 stores left in Australia for Game Australia. They will be shutting down over the following few weeks. So that's just 16 of them are going to be closing. Actually, they might already be closed now, and then the remaining 15 will be closed in the remaining few weeks. In the meantime, if you are in Australia and you know a Game Australia that's still open near you, I recommend you get your ass down there and take advantage of the liquidation sales. As a matter of fact, they're having like 60% off. You really got to check that out. So clean them out. Xbox Live is having a new program called Xbox Live Rewards. No one really knows what it is, what it does, or anything, except that it probably has something to do with achievements. On the dashboard it'll say, welcome to Xbox Live Rewards. You've played hard and earned your achievements, but now it's time for some real rewards. Microsoft will not really specify what this is or what they're offering. Here's a statement from Microsoft. We don't have many details to provide at this time, but can say that based on our member feedback, we're constantly looking for ways to continue enhancing and improving our Xbox Live Rewards program. So there you have it. Good news for fans of Okami. The interesting Zelda-type game that came out for PlayStation 2 and the Wii was not a big seller, but was a critical darling. Well, it will be coming to the PlayStation 3 with a HD makeover, so it's getting one of those HD re-releases. Coming out in Japan on November 1st for $50. And apparently it will launch in PSN this fall, replete with PS3 trophies and Move support, which is optional, and you can get it for $20. So that's interesting. I don't know if we're going to get the physical release or not, though. Here's another one that I hate that this is even a news story. Apparently, the Lingerie Football League, and this is a real thing, they have licensed a video game. And if you're not familiar with the Lingerie Football League, it basically is football played by attractive women in lingerie. Now, that sounds like something you might watch for a few minutes, and then, after a while, it's like, okay, I kind of feel bad for watching this. They wear very little other than, the protective padding and everything. And this is getting a video game, and I really hate that this is getting a video game. I hope nobody buys it. I really hope nobody. For any of you 15-year-old boys out there who are like, oh yeah, I gotta get that, dude. There is a such thing as internet porn. Just want to point that out. It's a lot cheaper. As a matter of fact, it's usually free. PSN is officially kaput in Korea. That is a big deal. They are shutting down the PlayStation Network store. Apparently, you'll still be able to do... this is South Korea, by the way. You'll still be able to do multiplayer, but they are shutting down the store. It has to do with a new law passed in South Korea, which has something to do with age verification. Apparently, since PlayStation Network does not require you to verify your age using your real name, you can't have it there, so that is shut down officially as of now. Dragon Age Legends was a popular Dragon Age spin-off for Facebook that allowed you to play the game and unlock things that you would get rewards for in the actual games Dragon Age Origins, Awakenings, and probably Dragon Age 2. I'm not sure whether or not that had any connectivity. But anyway, that was shut down a while back, but it is coming back. They have re-released the game as a single-player game, which you can download for free, and you could play forever. You won't be able to invite friends or play it multiplayer, but you can play it. So anybody who misses playing Dragon Age Legends, you might want to check that out at DragonAgeLegends.com. I mentioned last week that there was the possibility of a Final Fantasy VII re-release for PC based on a domain that had been registered by Square Enix, which was FinalFantasy7PC.com. You can't get into that website because if you try to get into it, it's locked. It requires a username and password. However, somebody managed to get a look at the website using Google Cache. Final Fantasy VII PC shows evidence of a plan for a PC re-release. Now, you know that Final Fantasy VII was released for PC. They're going to be re-releasing it. It will have achievements. It will have cloud saves. It will have something called Character Booster, which is basically a cheat mode. It lets you increase your hit points, magic points, and money with the simple click of a button, leaving you to enjoy your adventure. Okay, whatever. No news as to how that's going to be released. Is it going to be on Steam or whatever? And Square Enix has not officially announced this yet, so nobody knows. But the page apparently says it will be around $12 to buy. So there you have it. PlayStation 3 is getting an indie bundle coming out soon, and if you want to get 3 great indie games, Journey, Flower, and Flow will be available as an indie bundle. Don't know anything else. It's called the Journey Collector's Edition, actually. It is confirmed and for PS3, but nobody really knows. I don't have anything about release date or price, unfortunately, but that is happening. Actually, back to South Korea for more news. Apparently, they're just being a bunch of bitches over there. Apparently, they are forcing Blizzard to give refunds for players of Diablo 3. So apparently people who were, in South Korea were playing Diablo 3 who, weren't completely satisfied. The South Korean government is saying that you are entitled to a refund if you don't like the game, which is weird. Yeah. That's just strange. As for the refund itself, it's not like you can just say, hey, Diablo 3 sucks, give me my money back. There are stipulations. It is for players in South Korea who have not reached level 40. If you've gotten above level 40, obviously you like the game. So there you go. I guess that's weird that the government says you have to be, a noob. It's just weird. Also, there's a period from June 25th to July 3rd. That's when you have to file for the refund. After that, you have to be under level 20 within 14 days of purchasing the game. So there you go. Also, they've been apparently giving 30-day trials to people who didn't like Diablo 3, giving 30-day trials of StarCraft 2. I don't know, this is weird. What is going on with Blizzard in South Korea? Very strange. I have some very slight details about Crytek Software. They're working with Nintendo for something on the Wii U. Apparently, it is not Crysis 3, although they have not ruled out the idea of Crysis 3 being on the Wii U. As a matter of fact, I think they may have even said it is on the Wii U, but apparently they are working on a new game that uses the CryEngine 3. That's all I have. They're working on a new game. Actually, they're not working on a new game. Another developer who is not named is working on a Wii U game using CryEngine 3. All they said is a very respected developer, and they will be announcing it soon. They've seen it running, and it will look great. So there you go. Bad news for people who were looking forward to the next Penny Arcade game coming out from Zeboyd Games, the makers of Breath of Death 7 and Cthulhu Saves the World. Penny Arcades on the Rain Slick of Preposis 3 is delayed. It was going to come out July 10th for PC and Xbox Live, but apparently it was okay. There's a little bit of history here. Let me go back in time here. It was going to be July 10th, and then they moved it forward to June 25th. But now they've discovered some sort of major bug that is a game-crashing bug. So you can't do this. It has to do with older models of the Xbox and the memory units. So they are delaying the Xbox version. The PC version is still coming out on June 25th, but the Xbox version is delayed. Do not have an actual release date. So it's a good thing. I mean, like I said, it's a major bug that they're looking to fix. So there you have it. Apparently, Hideo Kojima cannot escape from Metal Gear Solid no matter how much he tries. He has tried to end the series multiple times, especially since Metal Gear Solid 4 was originally going to end with the main characters being arrested and convicted of war crimes. But there is going to be a Metal Gear Solid 4. Metal Gear Solid 5. I so don't care. I mean, but this is massive news for people who are really into Metal Gear, but there will be a new Metal Gear Solid 5 according to Hideo Kojima. So, yeah, there you have it. Some news about the Wii U now. This is a rumor. I mean, apparently Amazon's German site put up a listing for the Wii U with a launch date of November 21st. Now, they had a placeholder price, which was $500, which it's probably not going to be $500. As a matter of fact, Nintendo has said people will be pleasantly surprised about the price. But the November 21st launch date, that's the most interesting point. No news from Nintendo about the actual launch date of the Wii U, but that's what Amazon Germany said. I do have some news about Fire Emblem Awakening. They have gotten a release window. I mentioned last week that Fire Emblem Awakening is going to be coming out in America. I can now say that it will come out sometime in early 2013, so there you have it. Here's an interesting thing, Fatal Frame. You probably haven't heard that in a while. Fatal Frame, apparently that is now co-owned by Nintendo. So, yeah, that's interesting. There is a new version of the 3DS coming out, the 3DS XL. Like the DSi XL, it will be the same hardware, only bigger. This is coming out in July. I believe July 28th is coming out in Europe. I'm not sure about the American release, but there you have it. It's just a bigger 3DS. So if you think the 3DS is too small, you can get the 3DS XL. Some very, very slight news about the new Super Smash Bros. Game, which is apparently coming to 3DS and Wii U. We know that Project Sora was working on it because that was announced last year at E3 by Nintendo. Apparently, Namco Bandai is also going to be involved in the development. So there you have it. Actually, I talked about that already in the guest spot. So you guys knew that already, but I wanted to officially announce it in the news spot as well. 8-Bit Summer is hitting the 3DS with a bunch of new games, all 8-bit games coming available for the 3DS eShop, which is basically their virtual console. I do have the list of games here, and it is a very strange, eclectic mix of games, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, you know, Legend of Zelda, that's great. Kirby's Pinball, okay. Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, that's great. And then there's weird ones, like some Game Gear games like Sonic Blast. Okay, that's an okay game. Sonic Labyrinth is in there. That's a really bad game. I actually don't have the full list here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Legend of Zelda, Kirby's Pinball Land, Sword of Hope 2, Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, Tumble Pop, Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, Sonic Blast, and Sonic Labyrinth. Oh, man. And that is, yeah. Yeah, they're all coming out for, I think, $3, so there you have it. New Super Mario Bros. 2, which is coming out for the 3DS, will have... Your mother! Oh, usually I'd edit that out, but whatever. New Super Mario Bros. 2 will have paid DLC. Something that Nintendo has always been against. Now they're doing it. Apparently it has to do with coin rush stages, so it's not the main game. It's not like they're adding content to the main game, but you will be able to buy new coin rush stages available as paid downloads. So there you have it. And finally, there was a recent update to the Xbox Live dashboard, and apparently it has fucked shit up. If you've recently had problems with your controller, if you use a third-party controller and you've had issues with it, it's not your controller, it's your Xbox. Apparently, this system update has wreaked havoc with some certain third-party wireless controllers, the TurboFire 2, the Wildfire 2, anything in the Evo line, and the Super Sports 3X steering wheel. Now, if these are not working, there is a fix. It's a little complicated, though. You have to download basically new firmware that's made specifically for the hardware that you're using. Now, you know, Microsoft doesn't officially support any of these, but if you have any of these, you want to head over to codejunkies.com/update, and you can get the custom firmwares there. Get those onto your Xbox 360, and supposedly this will fix the issue with these third-party controllers. So there you have it. Well, that's it for the news. I want to get into, since this is the last show in June, I'm going to go into July releases, so let's do that right now. Keep in mind that this is not every single game coming out. This is just the ones that I have confirmed release dates for, and these are subject to change. So here's the games coming out in July. On July 3rd, we'll see the release of The Secret World for Windows and Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy for the 3DS. On July 10th, we'll have NCAA Football 13 for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Quantum Conundrum will hit PlayStation Network. Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure will hit the 3DS. And The Last Story will hit the Wii. Looking forward to that one. On July 11th, Quantum Conundrum will hit Xbox Live Arcade. On July 12th, AFL Live Game of the Year Edition will be hitting Windows, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii. On July 17th, Heroes of Ruin will hit the 3DS. On July 18th, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD will be hitting Xbox Live Arcade. On July 24th, Grow Lancer Wayfarer of Time will be hitting PlayStation Portable and PlayStation Network, and Prototype 2 will be hitting Windows. On July 25th, Racketeer will be hitting Xbox Live Arcade. On July 30th, Orcs Must Die 2 will be hitting Windows, And on July 31st, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance will be hitting the 3DS, and Risen 2 Dark Waters will be hitting PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Not really too much, and not really too much too exciting there. A lot of people are going to go for Kingdom Hearts, obviously. I'm looking forward to the last story, but other than that, not too much going on there, you know? So let's get to the sales figures and end out the show, huh? So here we have the top 10 best-selling games in Japan for the week ending in June 10th, 2012. The number one selling game was Tokyo Jungle for PlayStation 3, which sold 107,456 copies. Dragon Quest Monsters Terry's Wonderland 3D for the 3DS sold 94,279 copies. Kidou Senshi Gundam Seed Battle Destiny for PS Vita sold 41,306 copies. Dragon's Dogma for PlayStation 3 sold 34,517 copies. Mario Tennis on the 3DS sold 24,379 copies. Mario Party 9 on the Wii sold 18,540 copies. Super Mario 3D Land, that's 3 Mario games in a row. Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS sold 9,031 copies. Stormlover Kai on PlayStation Portable sold 7,583 copies. Monster Hunter 3G on the 3DS sold 6,645 copies. And Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS sold 6,443 copies. Definitely a very Mario week there. In Europe, the top-selling game was Diablo 3 on PC. That sold 43,158 copies. FIFA Soccer 12 on Xbox 360 sold 24,747 copies. Gravity Rush on the PlayStation Vita sold 23,888 copies. FIFA Soccer 12 on PlayStation 3 sold 23,636 copies. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier for Xbox 360 sold 22,179 copies. Max Payne 3 for PlayStation 3 sold 20,298 copies. Lollipop Chainsaw for PlayStation 3 sold 19,550 copies. Max Payne 3 for Xbox 360 sold 16,977 copies. Lollipop Chainsaw for Xbox 360 sold 16,518 copies. And Battlefield 3 for PlayStation 3 sold 16,144 copies. Here in America, the top-selling game was Lollipop Chainsaw for Xbox 360 that sold 86,646 copies. Lollipop Chainsaw for PlayStation 3 sold 73,960 copies. Diablo 3 for PC, that sold 36,816 copies. Gravity Rush on the PlayStation Vita sold 36,564 copies. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier on the Xbox 360 that sold 30,194 copies. Max Payne 3 on Xbox 360 sold 22,858 copies. MLB 12 The Show on PlayStation 3 sold 20,537 copies. Zumba Fitness 2 on the Wii sold 18,563 copies. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the Xbox 360 sold 16,430 copies, and Skylanders Spyro's Adventure on the Wii sold 15,951 copies. Over for hardware in Japan, the top-selling console was the 3DS, which moved 60,555 units. The Vita sold 33,837 units, the PlayStation 3 15,006 units, the PlayStation Portable 9,483 units, the Wii 5,812 units, the DS 958 units, and the Xbox 360 908 units. In Europe, the top-selling console was the PlayStation 3, which moved 47,208 units. The 3DS moved 34,345 units. The Xbox 360 31,518 units. The Vita 22,959 units. The PlayStation Portable 20,402 units. The Wii 19,489 units. And the DS 12,871 units. Over in North America, the biggest selling console was PlayStation 3. I'm sorry, it wasn't. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. It was the Xbox 360. That would have been surprising, though, if it was PS3. That's never happens. Xbox 360 was the top-selling console with 50,123 units sold. PlayStation 3, did come in second, however, with 40,529 units sold. The 3DS sold 38,487 units. The DS, 23,073 units. The Vita, 19,291 units. The Wii, 17,378 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 3,764 units. Meaning that worldwide, the top-selling games were Tokyo Jungle for PS3, Tom Clancy on 360, Dragon Quest Monsters on the 3DS, Diablo 3 for PC, Max Payne for 360, Max Payne for PS3, Dragon's Dogma on PS3, Tom Clancy for PS3, Mario Tennis on the 3DS, and Mario Party 9 on the Wii. And globally, the top-selling console was the 3DS, followed by PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Vita, Wii, PSP, and the DS. So there you have it. Well, that's the show for this week. Well, join me next week. Bring me your questions and comments. Leave them on this video or PM them to me, whatever. Get them to me, whatever. And, of course, if you want to be on the show, get Skype. IM me, NecroVMX on Skype. Let me know what's up. See you then. VMX out.